Why can't Sean Payton set a high bar and have lofty expectations for his team heading into the 2025 season? Is it fair to say he maybe put too much pressure on his players ahead of the season after just one season of a wild card appearance and breaking the streaks that had been going on here in Broncos country for the better part of the last decade? And Bo Nix made an interesting debut that for some reason has people wondering whether or not his head is fully in the right place going into his sophomore season. All things we will get to on today's rundown, but I want to begin with the Broncos head coach, who has been the subject of many a headline during this offseason and really during the last 2 seasons and change since he set foot in Denver, in part because of the predecessor that he was replacing and the natural and unnatural path that he had to get here, going from the longtime head coach of the Saints to suspension to retiring and going to a broadcasting booth and then coming out of retirement very shortly after to be the head coach of the Broncos. So Sean Payton has certainly not been a stranger to the camera, the limelight, the headlines, and he's definitely good for a soundbite or a press clipping or two. That certainly proved to be the case this week, as we talked about yesterday and over the course of this week thus far, as Sean Payton did an interview with Charles Robinson of Yahoo Sports, where he laid out some pretty bold proclamations for the Broncos. The first being that he believes that they're going to be a Super Bowl team going into 2024 or 2025 and have the opportunity to contend to that. Here's what he said. The short-term goal is winning the division, but this is a team capable of winning the Super Bowl. I've coached 6 teams that I thought could win the Super Bowl. Some went to championship games, some to the playoffs. This is my 7th team that I think has that. This being obviously his Denver Broncos squad going into the 2025 season. He also said that Bo Nix is going to be a top 4 to 5 quarterback in the NFL in the next 2 seasons. And that's clearly fueled by the fact that Bo Nix, despite being the 6th quarterback taken off the board in last year's draft, was one of the better quarterbacks among his rookie class. And from weeks 11 to 18 of the 2024 season, one of the better statistical quarterbacks in the entire NFL, which is why he finished near the top of the Rookie of the Year voting behind only Jaden Daniels, who basically did all the things that Bo Nix did and also led his team to an NFC title game appearance, and Brock Bowers, who had maybe the greatest rookie season at the tight end position in NFL history and is already going into his sophomore season one of the best tight ends in the NFL, at least considered by coaches, scouts, his peers, fans, etc. So clearly that's what fueled Sean's weight behind his comments and the confidence that he has. And it's still, even with that, a lofty statement, considering if Bo Nix is going to be a top 4 quarterback in the NFL at the conclusion of this 2025 season, that means he's going to have to dethrone one of Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, the reigning MVP, Lamar Jackson, the multi-time MVP and runner-up from last season, Joe Burrow, who despite being on a team in Cincinnati that apparently doesn't want to pay players and can't play defense, is one of the better quarterbacks in the NFL year in and year out since he's come into the league. And then you have the other guys like the reigning Super Bowl MVP, Jalen Hurts. You have Justin Herbert, who, while it hasn't manifested into postseason success for the Chargers, has clearly proven from a skill set standpoint and an intangible standpoint to be a top-tier, bordering on elite-level quarterback in the NFL. And the list goes on, by the way. To say that, though, is to say that Bo Nix is going to, in 2025, his sophomore season in the NFL, surpass the capability and accomplishments of the one of those players, at least one of those players, and enter into that elite tier and upper echelon. Sean Payton certainly isn't shy about making those proclamations. He definitely doesn't duck the smoke, so to speak. And it's gotten some interesting response and reaction from people that I kind of question why people feel this way. I've heard on our own station from the likes of Mike Evans, shocker, and others that they didn't like Sean Payton's comments, and they were hearkening back. I heard Zach By and Philip Lindsay on the drive hearkening back to the anonymous donors conversation that Sean Payton brought up in his first offseason here with Denver. And that was obviously coming off of the complete opposite of an anonymous donor season with Nathaniel Hackett, where it was all glitz and glam and YouTube videos and Sierra and Russell Wilson, y'all, and just this goofy, lackadaisical approach. And Russell Wilson, who was the ultimate look at me quarterback. So Sean Payton comes in and shuts that down and brings in the idea that we need more anonymous donors. Well, coming off of a rookie campaign with a quarterback that you drafted, the first round quarterback that you've drafted in your entire head coaching career in the NFL, which says a lot about what Sean Payton's been able to do over the course of his career. And then to turn around in the offseason where you went 10-7, made the wild card round and got spanked by the Bills, to turn around and say, this is a team that I believe can win the Super Bowl, one of only 7 teams I've coached in the 2 decades, whatever it is, that I've been in the league. And this is a quarterback who I believe inside the next 2 seasons, so before he potentially even gets paid outside of his rookie contract, is going to be a top 5 player at his position in the NFL, top 4 or 5, which would almost certainly mean he's resetting the market at the quarterback position when he is due to get paid. Well, saying all of that to your buddy Charles Robinson at Yahoo Sports isn't really being an anonymous donor, right? That's kind of the opposite of what you preached. And I think that's where you see Zach By and Philip Lindsay maybe raise an eyebrow. Mike Evans took a lot of exception with it this morning about how it's changed everything. He's changed everything now that he's said these comments and had this confidence in his team. And again, I just want to ask why? Why can't Sean Payton, after accomplishing what he's accomplished through these first 2 seasons going into his third, be confident in the squad that he has? Why can't he bang his chest and ring the bell for his quarterback that he called his shot on, that everybody from national media to some in the local media to those around the NFL, scouting and executives, everybody was willing and ready to jump on that train that Bo Nix was going to be a bust. He was a borderline 2nd round graded quarterback, one of the bigger overreaches and overdrafts in recent NFL history, it was being called. Well, nobody's saying those things now. So why can't Sean Payton puff his chest out a little bit in that regard? Sean Payton, since he got here in Denver, has talked a lot of talk, but he's also walked the walk afterwards. And I would challenge people to find me what Sean Payton has thrown out there that hasn't either in hindsight proven to be true, or at least we feel a lot or significantly different about than we did when he first said it. He came into town and said Nathaniel Hackett was maybe one of the worst head coaches in the history of the NFL. Anybody feel strongly to defend Nathaniel Hackett in that case? I certainly don't. He came in and said, I can't work with Russell Wilson. I know you guys paid him all this money and all this stuff. I can't make it work. He can't run my offense. I need to pick the guy that does. He takes on the largest dead cap hit in NFL history in order to bet on himself to prove that point. And what does he do in year 1 with his rookie quarterback that he takes 6th off the board? Goes 10-7, makes a wild card appearance, breaks a streak of losing seasons that has taken place since the conclusion of the 2016 season, breaks a absence from the postseason streak that has gone on since the year the Broncos won the Super Bowl in 2015. Did he prove himself right enough for all of us in that regard, that clearly he was able to do more with Bo than he was with Russ? During Bo's rookie season, it was clear he didn't have elements and pieces that he wanted, specifically on the offensive side of the ball, to be able to make things work at their maximum efficient level. What do they do in the offseason? They go out and get Evan Ingram. They go out and sign J.K. Dobbins. They draft R.J. Harvey. They draft Pat Bryant. They bring in these weapons around Bo, specifically on the skill position playing with the running back and the wide receiver, and Evan Ingram to be the joker that he had to kind of duct tape and WD-40 together last season. And my guess is, based on prior history, this offense is going to be a lot better and a lot more balanced for it. So I guess I just don't understand why people take exception to a guy who is not afraid of lofty expectations, is not afraid to vocalize and verbalize and call his own shot, putting his name on the line, drawing from a career in coaching that has spanned multiple decades, someone who has reached the mountaintop that the Broncos ultimately want to climb back to, which is one of the main reasons why they brought him in. And yet he's going to get pushback and flack for saying, hey, I'm going into my third year here. And in my entire coaching career, I've had maybe 6 teams that I felt like could win a Super Bowl. This team gives me the feeling that it could be the 7th. And we're going to push back on that? Is that not what we want? Is that not what we want? It's certainly what I want. It's what Sean Payton wants. And with the offseason negotiations that we saw with Zach Allen and Courtland Sutton, the upcoming discussions with Nick Bonito, how it's been all quiet on the Western Front in that regard, and there has been no drama. And you've got guys talking about how this is their happy place, and they love and believe deeply in what's being built here. That's because, in large part, of the culture that Sean Payton has reestablished. So I don't know why we would have an issue with seeing the early signs and returns of success, seeing a guy who, while he's talked a lot of talk with his double latte interviews over the last handful of years, seems like we get one an off season. Thus far, up to this point, he has walked the walk, and everybody should just take a step back and let this 2025 season play out before we preemptively jump on him for something that ultimately we want him to believe and feel and think anyways. He wasn't the only one that had people raising eyebrows, though. Sean Payton's star quarterback, Bo Nix, also turned some heads and had some of the same eyebrows being raised when he debuted a YouTube channel. And the first episode on that YouTube channel was titled The In-Between. And it was about a 9.5 to 10-minute episode. And really what it was like an in-depth, behind-the-scenes look at Bo Nix training this offseason for his upcoming sophomore campaign. You saw him throwing on air in an empty field, working on footwork, arm mechanics, talking through the mental process that an NFL quarterback goes through on a day-to-day and week-to-week basis throughout the course of an NFL offseason and soon to be an NFL season, and really just giving that ever-coveted look behind the curtain, the peek behind the glass as to what it's like to be one of these top-tier world-class athletes in the NFL. It was really interesting to see that side of Bo and see him peel back, because up to this point, he's been certainly well-spoken. He's a very intelligent young man and somebody that clearly from the neck up has it going on and has a good head on his shoulders. But he's been pretty buttoned up for the most part. He's very, say the right things, almost regal, presidential-like in his press conferences, but without it feeling phony, right? Which is what we saw from his predecessor, Russell Wilson. It just felt like we were watching some guy try to sell us a pen about why this is great, that guy's great, I'm great, we're great, everything's great, let's ride. That's not how it's come across with Bo Nix. And he has seemed very mature, given the fact that he's an older rookie quarterback by NFL standards, and headed in the right direction. And then you had some people, and maybe this is fueled a little bit unfairly in Bo's direction because of how people felt about Sean Payton, barking to Charles Robinson about how good he thinks this team is going to be. But it seems like there were more people who were raising an eyebrow at Bo Nix and saying, wow, the guy is a rookie in the NFL, goes through one season, hasn't really done anything yet by NFL standards, which is something that Bo admits, by the way. And he's making a YouTube channel. He's got a merchandise website, shopbonix.com, linking some merch, maybe some branding elements, things like that. And he's taking part in this kind of behind-the-scenes docuseries that's only one episode, to my knowledge, has been released so far, and it's detailing some of his off-season training routines and things of that nature. Similar question as to why anyone would have an issue with that is what I would pose. And the answer is, well, his head's not in the right place. He's focused on the me more than the we, and he's building a brand, and he's distracted, and they haven't accomplished anything yet. He's getting high on his own supply. Miss me with all of that speculation. That is actually more egregious than what some of the pushback and the flack towards Sean Payton was. Because again, I said it just earlier before, Sean Payton talks a lot of talk. I made the comparison yesterday that if we're making Sean Payton's coaching ideology, his persona, into a Lil Wayne lyric, it's not real G's move in silence like lasagna. Sean Payton doesn't move in silence. He's the I do what I do and you do what you can do about it, Wheezy, if that makes sense. And I think that's okay. I said it yesterday. That was basically what I've been trying to say for the last 14 minutes or so about Sean Payton. That's okay. That's who he is. And again, I don't think that Bo Nix doing a YouTube behind-the-scenes docuseries where it may come out that this company that's behind producing all of this approached him with the paid opportunity to do it. I don't think that him being a part of this behind-the-scenes look into some of his off-season training and his thought process, and really kind of hearing from him on a deeper level than what you get from a podium press conference or a scrum in the off-season after practice. I don't think that's not him being himself or him having his eyes pointed where they shouldn't be. I think Bo Nix's compass has been pointed the right way since he set foot at Broncos Park, powered by Common Spirit. And I think that the maturation and growth process that he had to go in microwaved fashion during the 2024 season, where that first month of the season must have felt like he was crunched between a rock and a hard place with the degree of difficulty, the speed, and the weight that was placed upon his shoulders to try to breathe in Sean Payton's offense and breathe out a product that has been better than the definition of mediocrity and kind of abysmal dysfunction that we've seen with the Broncos for the last 7 or 8 seasons prior to that. I think that and where we saw him overcome that to become the quarterback that he was on the back half of that season and into the postseason, that's who Bo Nix looks like he is. And so why can't Bo Nix have a YouTube channel in 2025? Why can't he produce cool content giving you behind-the-scenes looks at his training regimen and his thought process as a quarterback, and really breaking down the mental aspect of the game that we, the fans, and we, the media, proclaim to be the most difficult and intriguing position and most valued position in all of professional sports? Why can't Bo Nix show that side of himself or create content in that way? It has to be, we live in a world of absolutes where it has to be one or the other. And if he's doing any of this, he's clearly taking away from that. I don't think so. And again, the fact that we all watched it and want to watch it and found it pretty damn cool is evidence that it's probably worth making. He's not going on Netflix to be on the quarterback documentary. And even if he was, if that was something he was approached by or whatever, fine. Is it a make or break imperative thing that he does it? No, it's not life or death, but it's also not a massive deterrent or distraction that he does it. And I think that if you're one of the people who say, well, this is clearly showing that he's getting high on his own supply and his priorities aren't in the right place because he hasn't proven anything at the NFL level to be, he should be sticking his nose in the playbook and focusing on 2025. If you don't think that he's doing that, that's a you thing. So I was very intrigued with the discourse that took place over the last 24 to 48 hours with the Sean Payton interview to Charles Robinson and Bo Nix on the same day, basically debuting a YouTube channel with some merch, which partial proceeds going to charity, if I'm not mistaken, and things of that nature. And suddenly, like, we're supposed to look down on those things, be concerned about those things, tip our nose up at those things? Not a chance. Do we not remember what it's been like here in Broncos country? Do we not remember the revolving door, the carousel at quarterback that we maybe thought would never stop spinning? The inability to find a head coach who knew what the hell they were doing, who had no pelts on the wall, and just bouncing from the Vic Fangios to the Nathaniel Hackett's. And we don't have any of that anymore. We've got Sean Payton, who's won a Super Bowl. We've got Bo Nix, who was a Rookie of the Year candidate and quarterback and clearly melds with his head coach. We have the thing that at least 3 or 4 teams every single season are mortgaging their future at times to try to find. The Broncos look like they have it. And we're going to bow our necks and tip up our nose because our head coach thinks this team is on pace to win a Super Bowl and our quarterback put out some content on a YouTube channel? Not me. Not me, man. And if it's you, I'd maybe recalibrate and refocus things just a little bit. We will see how the rest of the week's discourse takes place. The Broncos are off today. They are traveling to Santa Clara, where they will have joint practices with the 49ers tomorrow ahead of their first preseason game this weekend. Our own Andrew Mason will be on the scene. Mike Kliss from 9 News, friend of the station, and others will be on site to be our eyes and ears, and we will be here to relay all of that information to you starting tomorrow at noon. I do what I love what I do. Second nature to put in the work.